Trump isn't fully to blame for high prices and neither is Biden. President Donald Trump says Joe Biden is responsible for America's affordability crisis. At the same time, many voters blame Trump for their financial struggles. But the truth is, both sides may be wrong. Yes, both Biden and Trump made decisions that affected prices. Trump's tariffs disrupted supply chains. Biden's massive pandemic stimulus boosted demand across the economy. However, presidents do not directly set prices. Prices are set by businesses and are mainly driven by supply and demand. When demand rises faster than supply, prices go up. A basic lesson from Economics 101. As economist Tyler Skipper explains, presidents are often held responsible for the economy, but many forces behind inflation are outside their control. The political blame game. No president wants to appear powerless on issues voters care about, especially money. During his presidency, Biden blamed inflation on pandemic-related supply chain disruptions, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, energy companies and global shocks. Now in 2025, Trump is blaming Biden. Last week, Trump claimed he inherited the worst inflation in history, a statement that isn't accurate. By the time Trump returned to office, inflation had already cooled. It peaked at 9.1% under Biden, but fell to around 3% by January 2025. How inflation rose under Biden? Most economists agree inflation surged mainly because of supply chain bottlenecks after the pandemic, a sudden shift in consumer spending toward goods. Another major factor was the nearly $2 trillion stimulus package, which included $1,400 checks to many Americans. That money helped families survive and it was very popular, but it also increased demand, pushing prices higher. Some economists say the decision made sense at the time. It's better to risk inflation than to risk a deep recession or depression. Low interest rates also played a role. Homeowners refinanced mortgages, pulling hundreds of billions of dollars in cash into the economy. Monthly payments dropped, giving people more money to spend. Housing costs, a long-term problem. High housing costs didn't start with Biden or Trump. The roots go back to the 2008 housing crash, when construction slowed dramatically. Today, the U.S. is short 3 to 5 million homes, according to estimates. This shortage took years to form and can't be blamed on a single president. Inflation was a global problem. The U.S. wasn't alone. Inflation surged worldwide after COVID, especially following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Energy prices soared. Food prices rose as Ukraine and Russia supply key global crops. In mid-2022, U.S. inflation hit 9.1%. Gas prices peaked above $5 per gallon. But those prices later fell. Gas dropped to around $3. Inflation eased back to roughly 3%. What about Trump's tariffs? Economists agree Trump's tariffs are pushing some prices higher but not dramatically. So far, many companies haven't fully passed those costs to consumers, partly due to uncertainty and political pressure. Since Americans spend most of their money on services, housing, healthcare, insurance, tariffs haven't caused massive inflation. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell recently said, without tariffs, inflation would be close to the Fed's 2% target. Still, tariffs make the Fed cautious about cutting interest rates, something Trump has demanded. The bottom line: consumers want prices to fall, not just rise more slowly. But falling prices across the board are unlikely. As one economist put it, Presidents get more credit and more blame for the economy than they deserve. Inflation is unpopular, and promises to bring prices down often create expectations that simply can't be met.